ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this special series of interviews dedicated to the Intra-African Trade Fair 2025 hosted by Algeria. We are here at the Algiers International Exhibition Center, SAFEX, where this mega African event is taking place. And today I am honored and privileged to host Mrs. Ahunna Eziakonwa, Assistant UN Secretary General and the Director of the United Nations Development Programs Bureau for Africa. Thank you, Madam, for taking the time to answer our questions.
Thank you, Zahara. Great to be here.
Thank you. So to start, let's speak about the UNDP Africa. What is its role and mission in the continent, and what is the significance of its presence here in the Intra-African Trade Fair 2025?
Thank you. As you know, the United Nations Development Program is the UN's premier development agency, active in 170 countries and territories. And I head the Africa Bureau, which covers 46 countries on the continent. And our role is really to support countries in eliminating poverty and inequality, but to do so in an environmentally responsible way. So we also want to protect the planet and preserve it for future generations. Our significance in coming to Algeria for this IATF is really looking at the AfCFTA, the Africa Continental Free Trade Arrangement, and trying to make sure, well, this for us, it's a game changer and it's transformative in itself. But we want to contribute to its implementation, but in particular to making sure that young people, women, and some other population groups that are usually marginalized can gain from this market. And we're playing a role here of bringing those constituencies to Algiers so that they too can see what the opportunities are and get access to the market.
Thank you indeed. So to speak more about the significance, you also have the Timbuktoo initiative, which was launched in January 2024. It is often described as a moonshot vision. So could you explain this initiative's aims and how is it different from the traditional development efforts?
Timbuktoo is sparking a startup revolution on the continent of Africa. We see immense talent among our young people. But not enough opportunities to match their ambitions. And yet, every country on the continent, you talk to governments, they are concerned about the lack of jobs for their youth. And we know that the public sector alone is not going to be able to generate enough jobs for our young, educated, connected, hungry young people. We therefore want to promote this idea of entrepreneurship, of young people who are so talented and so technologically savvy, and they are falling in love with problems that they face on a daily basis, and therefore working on solutions for those problems in a very authentic way. But we want capital to go to these young people, and Timbuktoo really has arrived on the scene to crowd in not just capital, but also the ecosystem building that is required to really accompany these young entrepreneurs and enterprises that are trying to conquer the world, not just their own countries, to cross borders with their ideas and their solutions. So Timbuktoo is different from other development entities or initiatives because it's bringing different stakeholders into the same room to play in the same room. Private sector, for instance, is private sector led. We want investors to come into these programs that have development impact. We want universities, the academic space, to also innovate. So we're building university innovation pods where students have access to incubate, to experiment with their ideas, and to be part of innovation, the innovation ecosystem. We're asking governments to deploy policies that are sensitive to this community of innovators. So there's a policy dimension to Timbuktoo. But above all, we are leveraging the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, the One Africa market, because many African countries need a bigger market to play, because some of the countries are quite small in terms of the size of the economy and the size of the market. And our entrepreneurs have big dreams. They want to cross borders with their ideas. So Timbuktu is also Pan-African in nature.
Yes.
We're building Pan-African hubs, which consolidate the ecosystem. We're also building this university innovation ports, and then we're developing capital that is catalytic and commercial. So you have a de-risking element that then encourages investors to bring in more capital to this space.
So what are the challenges or the main challenges that Timbuktu faces within?
Well, I think one challenge that we're trying to conquer, actually, and we hope that when Algeria hosts the Africa's Startup Conference at the end of the year, we can discuss this, is leveraging Africa investors. You know, a lot of the investment that's coming into startups today, more than 80% comes from outside Africa. While this is okay at the beginning, we think to be able to retain value and Africa content, African investors need to start investing in African businesses. So we want to create an opportunity to introduce this incredible superpower of our young innovators to African billionaires and millionaires, and really encourage them to say, you need to bet on these young people, because if you don't, outsiders won't. If we're going to crowd in global capital into Africa's innovations, we need to build confidence locally. So that's one challenge, is to bring local content and local capital to the space. The other is infrastructure. You'll find that a lot of our innovators say, okay, money is important and we need financing, but we also need governments to unlock the infrastructure space. We want to be able to travel when we can, to move things logistically without the high cost that we're facing right now. We want to produce with lower costs when it comes to energy. So energy access, for instance, for a lot of them. We're seeing a lot of women in agribusiness. They are producing, but they want to also process. Yes. So, but to process, they need energy and finances. So financial access, infrastructure access, even broadband and innovation and connectivity, digital trade right now and digital services is very hot in the market. To do that, you need connectivity. Indeed. So these are some of the challenges, but they have solutions, and we hope that we can bring the big actors in the room.
Indeed. So you were speaking about women empowerment. So how does the UNDP Africa ensure that women entrepreneurs and innovators are not left behind in this startup revolution?
Actually, we start from the very beginning. Look at Africa Continental Free Trade Area to support the Protocol on Women and Youth, for instance, which the African member states have adopted. And in that protocol, we were able to inject some of the, we did a survey in 27 countries of the women entrepreneurs to find out what are your challenges. Yes. And it was very clear for them. We need market intelligence and market access. We need some capacity building to be able to get as much knowledge of the space as we can. And we need financing support, So with these kinds of challenges, we build them into the protocol, and therefore in every country, they know what they have to do to lift. So there's that policy level support that we bring to unlock opportunities for women, because women's particular needs, women have very particular needs that others don't have. Access to collateral, for instance. In many countries, women cannot own land. Where do they get the collateral to get to be able to qualify for banks to lend money to them? Yes. So now we're encouraging governments to have women's banking and the commercial banks also to have some exceptional conditions for women so they can access finance a little bit more easily. Yeah. But also in terms of their access as startups, we are trying to bring investors that favor women startups, women-led startups. And there are lots of foundations that actually want to encourage women startups, and we're working with them. But also in terms of training, sometimes women don't get access to opportunities for training and capacity building. So we're making some specific intentional investments in that area. AI, for instance, creating opportunities for also women founders to have access to training on AI and other technology, new technologies that they need for their businesses.
Can you share any specific example of women-led businesses that are present here in the Intra-African Trade Fair under your regional bureau of UNDP?
Well, I've just come from a B2B exercise where we were able with ECOWAS to bring in women businesses in different parts of the continent to come together and exchange ideas, but also figure out how they can collaborate between themselves, West Coast to East Coast and Southern. It was very interesting, actually, because we have women in agribusiness, which is very interesting, looking at traditional indigenous products like shea butter, which you find in many parts of the continent. There's shea butter in West Africa, there's shea butter in East Africa. Sometimes the content, the flavor, the texture is different depending on where it's grown. But imagine coming together and creating a truly Pan-African shea butter value chain, for instance, regional value chain. And here we heard women talking about how they were going to improve quality, content, and richness of the product by aggregating the different products from different countries. And then we have women also in the whole area of textiles who are here, really transforming textiles into multiple product lines, bags, but also clothing. So different sectors are represented here.
Yes. So how are these businesses, what opportunities can the African Trade Fair give them in terms of exports, partnerships to make access for bigger markets? How is it done?
Well, so that's the whole point of this trade fair, right?
Yes, of course.
Because market access is really difficult if you're sitting in one corner in Ghana doing your products and you don't know how to get to Kenya to show what you've got. And here, suddenly you see an opportunity because you're able to come to Algiers, and we facilitated several of these women to come here to Algiers so they can also display and showcase their wares. And there is a lot of interest that they get now from other countries and opportunities. So having a trade fair event like this and making sure that these businesses get access to this space is one way. But also we work with the Africa Continental Free Trade Area Secretariat, which continues to pilot initiatives like the guided trade to really get a lot of the women certified in terms of rules of origin and all of that. And we've done this between, say, for instance, Nigeria and Ghana, between Mauritius and Namibia, where we shuttle women with their wares to these different countries, and they start to smell and touch the opportunity that they have to expand their markets. But there is also the market outside Africa. And we are exposing a lot of these women, their talent and their wares to countries like Japan, for instance. And now we see, even at this trade fair, there is collaboration between Japanese business and African business. We have opportunities in Europe as well. But I think the key thing, actually, to helping expand market is quality and scale. Scale is very important because the moment you get greater access to the market, you're going to have demand that you might not be able to meet, because a lot of the women are still producing small scale. So the issue of scale comes in, and with scale comes financing. So it's back to financing and how we can see the products and the enterprises that have that potential to scale, and therefore crowding support for them in whatever areas.
So looking ahead, what more needs to be done to boost women leadership and the inclusion in African innovation ecosystem?
Well, I think education is really important and it needs to start early. So we need to have a bit of targeting of women, because usually the young girls are somehow marginalized. They don't get exposure to the same opportunities as the men. So important that we start young to introduce the ideas, the culture of entrepreneurship to young girls in homes and in schools. And then STEM, science, technology, and innovation needs to be part of the education system at a very early stage. And we also need to then expand opportunities for women to have access to financing. It's not, some is being done, but it's not enough. In all of these areas, there is work being done by development agencies, by countries, but we need to scale the effort. I think there's too much fragmentation, little projects here and there, and we need to start working in volume, and then collaboration. A lot of the enterprises are sort of struggling on their own, when actually they could build regional value chains that help them increase their competitiveness. And this is what we're trying to do here in Algiers through this IATF, bringing in AfCFTA and other multilateral financial institutions on the continent to invest also in building these bridges, this collaboration. Then I think focus on creatives. We haven't tapped enough into Africa's creative industry, the potential for that, the music, the films, the food, the fashion.
Diversity.
Yes, I think really expanding into this orange industry is important.
Yes. So what message would you like to deliver to young African innovators and entrepreneurs that are listening here today?
Don't wait. Don't wait for anybody, just keep going as you're going. And we're right behind you. I think the idea of having the confidence to pursue your dreams and ambitions, irrespective of the obstacles that you face. And that's actually the spirit that I'm seeing in a lot of our young innovators. They're determined and they are actually quite fierce and aggressive once they have an idea that they want to pursue. I would just like to encourage that. The opportunities will come when people see your determination, when they see your resolve, and when they have see your clarity about your trajectory, where you want to go, your journey. So sticking with on your lane and continuing to seek opportunities even beyond the traditional, I think is very important. Don't give up. This stuff is tough. But it's not for the weak-hearted. So I'd say, you don't give up. You keep going until it's done. As Mandela says, it seems impossible until it's done. So I think really that's my message. Keep going at it and don't give up.
Thank you. And finally, how do you assess the organization of this economic event, IATF 2025, hosted by Algeria? And how do you describe your experience in Algeria as a whole?
Well, I first would like to congratulate Algeria, actually, for the courage that it has to host this, because this isn't easy to host with so many participants from all over. The logistics alone of it is a nightmare. But I think this has gone quite seamlessly. And, there's a lot of organization behind the scenes that makes it, smooth as it is. So big congratulations. It's a big one, compared to what we've had in the past. So also the size brings lots of complexities, which I think has been very well handled by the government and the people of Algeria, but also the air of hospitality and generosity and welcome. This is really what people care about when they come to a country is, first, have you been well received? Have you been respected? Have you felt at home? And I think Algeria has helped us to feel at home. And that's why you feel a sense of relaxation here. People feel relaxed and stress-free, even though their businesses are quite serious things. So big congratulations. That's actually been my experience, you know, that sense of generosity, openness, hospitality, a general sense of welcome to Algeria, you know, is really important. And it's reflection of the culture, the African culture,
Exactly.
you know, that we are one, you know, we feel that we need each other and we're one. That cultural aspect is really important because then it feeds into the economic aspect. And I think here there's been a lot of deal making. You know, I've seen the deal rooms very active, which is another important aspect of this. It's not just to come and display your goods. You really need to be able to make important, valuable connections. And I think the space has provided for that people are making good business connections that's going to be important for their growth.
Thank you. So thank you so much for your insights, Madam Ahunna Eziakonwa, Assistant UN Secretary General, Director of the UNDP Regional Bureau for Africa. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you, Sahara.
Thank you.
Pleasure
and
being with you.
Thank you. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us today. Give you tomorrow the same appointment, same time, same place. Have a lovely day.